Hi guys, and welcome to another video, welcome to another Dungeons video. Today we're going to be doing Frostmaws Burrows, which is probably my favourite dungeon in Eye of the North. It's certainly a really hard one. So as well as just completing it, normally a lot of you guys have asked me about doing vent runs and stuff, so I'm actually going to be in vent with the teammates for this video. What I'm going to do though, this is going to be the exact same format for me, so basically I'll still be dubbing over it with lore crap afterwards. But also, I'm going to have an annotation to another version of the exact same dungeon run on Magical Mike's channel, and on there you'll be able to hear me talking to everyone in the run, and it'll be a lot more, it'll be much more of a live commentary from me and everyone else around there, because I know a lot of you guys watch these videos and you want to sort of have more live commentary. So if that does take your fancy and you want to hear us talking to each other, hit the annotation, you'll go straight to that video, and yeah. But before we get into this, obviously we're going to be reading our Master Dungeon Guide book from last week. So the last thing we did was the Darkcrime Delves. I can't actually remember what page 7 is. But yeah, last week we did the Darkcrime Delves, so we'll finish this off with reading this page, which says, a vast series of caves called the Darkcrime Delves by the local Norn leads into the depths of the northern mountains in Burrow Marches. Home to the snow Jotun, the delves provide natural defences for the ferocious, yet not terribly clever, beasts. We came upon two hunters, Colgrim and Einar, in the middle of an argument over which of them had the right to enter the delves and kill the new Jotun leader. The matter was a point of both honour and glory, as the defeat of such a powerful beast would surely immortalise the victor. There seemed to be no end in sight to their bitter discussion, so on a lark they allowed us to enter the caves first. The hunt was long and arduous, but in the end the incredulous Norns were amazed by our success. Our impressive victory greatly increased our reputation. It kind of adds that last line at the end there, as if it actually does in gameplay mechanics increase your reputation more than other dungeons might, but it doesn't really. So yeah, there you go guys, that's the Darkcrime Delves. We're going to go and do Frostmaws Burrows. Now to get there, we have to go to a really far place really far away, to the very north of Yarga Moraine. So next time you see me, I'll be up there doing that. In addition to what I'm doing with the vent run as well, it looks like another team of people once again is going to be trying to race against us. So I'm going to set that up and tell them to start the dungeon as soon as they want, and I'll see you outside the dungeon for this for the start of Frostmaws Burrows, where we're going to be seeing a couple more Norn having an awesome conversation out there. So yeah, I'll see you guys in a second. Alright, so here we are. We're at the top of Yarga Moraine here. As you can see, that's the hole to the other side of the world here. And we walked past this, I think it was at least twice. But we never spoke to all the Norn that were sort of congregating around here. And they're just oh, shit, everyone's fighting up there. Don't worry, guys. Oh, that there, you see these boulders? Yeah, this is the bit where we killed the boss. And yeah, we came up here a couple of times. But I deliberately never came specifically here, because there's a huge meeting of Norn here, as you can see. So they're saying stuff like, not to be rude, but your breath stinks like a dead muskrat. Brilliant. And they'll have a bit of a conversation here, which we're going to listen to and then grab a quest. So Gareth says, fellow hunters, friends, and future legends. Don't forget, this is a really kind of top-end dungeon. It's really, really good. If you like the Norn, you'll love this conversation. Yes, a legendary oath by the name of Gareth. I've heard this one before. Let us celebrate this night, for soon we depart for battle and glory. Or an honourable, possibly horrible death. Alright, what are you guys doing? Feel free to pause and read all this random other chat here. Hooray, they say. And we'll speak to Latham in the end. I'm just hoping nobody goes through the portal. Hroth, make yourself useful. Play us a song. What would you like to hear? I don't know. Anything cool? But bear in mind, guys, I'm probably not going to sing the Ballad of Hammertoe. Who was Hammertoe? Metal Knights of the Apocalypse. I'm sure there are just a million references here that I'm missing. My husband left me for a bone minion. Oh, wow. What a song. That is a good one. That's my favourite Guild Wars song. Hidden on one of the making of DVDs. That's the name of the song, you idiots. Yeah, of course. If only my mother could see me now. Pass me some ale. So yeah, they're just generally dancing and having a good time, having a bit of a... I think this is kind of a moot in celebration of the fact they're going to be assaulting this dungeon soon. So what really happened to your husband, Keita? I think it does eventually loop. Frostmaw the Kinslayer ate him, they say. Frostmaw the Kinslayer? Oh, that's right, says Latham. Ale, says Frantic Mauler. Yes, very clever, Mike. I hear frogs taste just like chicken. Is that it? Really? I thought they actually started talking about Frostmaw a little bit more. I guess not. Okay, so we're going to speak to Latham here. See what they're talking about with this Frostmaw guy. So... He says, this is a difficulty master dungeon, as you can see. We were on a hunt, my brothers and I, when the ground shook and heaved beneath our feet. It was as if the earth itself became racked by a death rattle. I was tossed into the air and slammed against a mighty tree. When I awoke, the smell of blood was thick on my tongue. I found my brothers torn to pieces, a giant frost worm ripping the flesh from their bones. I could only watch, sick with horror, as the beast finished its meal and descended into its lair. I swore I would avenge my kin or join them. My destiny and my honour are linked to that creature, in life or death. Okay, revenge is best served cold. Ice cold. Oh, right. Okay, so brilliant. This is such a good quest. These guys will be with us. If there's a lot of dialogue, I can't quite remember how much dialogue there is. There is a lot of dialogue as we go through. You can bet your bottom dollar. It will be right there in the description right now for you to listen to. And so, yeah, or listen to, read. You can pretend you're listening to it in my charming voice. But yeah, so I'm going to make sure everybody's okay, and we're going to run on into the dungeon. So let's do this. Oh, this should be great. I haven't done this for so long. Does the signpost say anything? It just says danger. Oh, it does. Worm breeding ground. So yeah, remember, these are worm breeding grounds. We're going to learn a lot about the worms here, which are a pretty damn cool... Oh, well, someone's gone in. Pretty damn cool monster, if I do say so myself. So here we go. I will hand you over to my future self. Hopefully this dungeon run will have gone okay. And yeah, enjoy, everyone. I know I'm going to. Good morning, everybody. It is Sunday morning at the moment. I've just woken up. The dungeon went really, really well. A few of you guys that were in the run with us. Don't forget, obviously, we're all in Ventrilo, and once again, there'll be an annotation on the video or in the description that can take you to this exact same dungeon. I think Mike's video actually starts right at the start of the dungeon where you're watching right now, and it's the exact same dungeon, but you get to hear what the hell we were all talking about as we went through. So yeah, but after the dungeon ended, it went really well. A few of you ended up staying in Vent for quite a while. It was just generally a really, really good time. It was a great dungeon. So lots of stuff happened in it. Like as I went through this, I mentioned it actually in the Darkcrime Delves video, which I literally only just finished commentating. I mentioned that in the Darkcrime Delves video, that there's lots of like plaques and weird bits of like lore and story written about some of these Norn that are coming down with us. The Norn, by the way, in this dungeon, they're pretty much useless. It's a shame because the Norn are supposed to be really powerful sort of heroes, and they're all big, and they're like the berserker race or whatever, you know, and they just run around. There's like 5 of them, and they just run around dying over and over and over. I spent a good deal of this dungeon with my party window on, so you actually just see them running around. It's pretty cool when they all turn into their bear forms. They do all use their bear forms. It's pretty cool when that happens, and they all sort of pile on somewhere. But oh man, the thing is, we had a pretty good team. You'll notice we die a lot. Like I said, this is one of the harder dungeons in the game. The worms use some very interesting skills against you here, particularly one which is called Worm Bile. It's a hex that they can cast, right? It recharges in 12 seconds. If we were in hard mode, it would recharge even faster than that. It recharges in 12 seconds, and it will hex pretty much everyone on your in the area. It's an AoE to hex, and what it will do is it will keep doing pulses of damage, which I believe ignores armor as well. It just does loads, or there are ways to reduce it, I know that much, but it just keeps doing pulses and pulses of damage to people. And when the hex finally ends, it will also disease everyone on top of that. So they just have insane party-wide pressure that is very, very hard to keep up with. Having said that, though, I don't think we actually fully wiped once the whole way through the dungeon. We came very close at one point. You'll see we only have one person left alive, our spirit spammer, but he does an amazing job and gets everybody back up. So top 2 thumbs up to that one there. But yeah, generally a very fun dungeon. Had a lot of fun doing it, and you'll see some great sights. Like, I'm gonna, once again, I didn't do live commentary at the end, so I'll be doing post commentary at the end again. But man, I love the last chamber there. It's so cool on the bottom floor. It's a 5-floor dungeon. This is the first 5-floor dungeon we've seen. There are a couple more, but this is which basically means that this is going to last a really long time. Funnily enough, it only took us about an hour to do the whole thing, which is the same amount of time as Darkcrime Delves took us, which is quite funny considering this one's far harder. But in any case, I will probably speed it up by about 1/3 again. I mean, I sped it up slightly on Darkcrime Delves, and as I'm recording this, one of those has already gone up, but none of you guys like commented and said that you didn't like that, so I'm assuming it was okay. Again, I'm well open to feedback, guys. Just let me know. But so I'll probably do that with this as well. It will be split into 2 videos once again, depending on how much I speed it up. But yeah, all right. So there you go. That's the dungeon. I hope you enjoy it. By the time I've finished rambling, we're probably already on the 2nd floor by now. There's so many worms here. I love worms, I really do. I wish there was more lore written about worms, I really do. I mean, what exactly does Wiki have to say about them? Hold on. Oh, this is so weird. I could do a video while like casually browsing the internet and just searching stuff up. See, this is what I do before most videos. I come onto Wiki and I look at some of the more interesting stuff. Yeah, like, there's really no lore. I mean, we've done so much on this game now. We know most of the lore. All that Wiki says from everything in the game, basically, all in one place. It says that worms are giant worm, spelt with an O this time, worm-like creatures that burrow through the ground. Some worms are able to use extended ranged siege attacks, which we saw. Particularly, do you remember in the Crystal Desert we saw that? There are siege worms here as well. They're mostly frost worms. You don't see any of like the big fiery worms that we saw in the catacombs of Cathandrax. You don't see many of those. They're also in the Fissure of Woe, by the way. They're there as well. But they are generally larger, more aggressive versions of worms, these siege ones. The larva state of these worms also resembles the bigger forms of them. So yeah, if you remember in pre-searing, we had all those little worm larvas, and I believe outside Burrow Station they're also classified as worm larva, I think, maybe. But yeah, so what notes has it got? It's got that while they're burrowing, they leave a trail of dust. Yeah, look out for that in the dungeon. You'll just see, particularly at the end, you'll just see the whole floor is essentially vibrating with all these like dust clouds where you can just know that there's 100 worms swarming around underneath you. Obviously, you had the Janudu, who were intelligent worms and actually allied with us for a time. And then it's just got gameplay stuff, which we don't really care about. Oh yeah, this is actually something interesting that's the wiki's just reminded me of, but I realised the other day. Worms are actually just a type of wyvern, if I remember rightly. You can actually liken worms to essentially dragons, because oh god, I gotta stop dropping stuff while see, the thing is I fiddle with pens and stuff in my hand while I'm recording like this. Yeah, no, I think wyverns is like an old term for a specific type of dragon, but worms are also considered dragons as well, which is quite interesting. Obviously, Guild Wars laws never established any connection between dragons like Glint or Kunavang to the actual worms, but don't forget there were lots of other dragons in Cantha. Don't forget there were just sort of more smaller, more beast-like dragons that were once allies with the humans and the people of the Jade Sea and the Echaval Forest, but then the Jade corrupted them. You remember all those dragons? We don't talk about those very much, mainly because we have no idea how they link in with the Elder Dragons. But yeah, Guild Wars has never established this connection between worms and dragons, so I don't know whether we can really classify them as dragons as such, but it's interesting to think of them that way. What else have we got on worms? Don't worry, we will be doing a Norn blog post, don't you worry. And then on the Guild Wars 2 wiki, which takes information from all the blog posts that have come out already, developer interviews, and some stuff from Guild Wars 1 as well, says that worms are giant worms that bore through the ground and possibly the water as well. Don't forget, at the end of one of the trailers, you see an immense worm. It's fucking amazing, and obviously the first massive boss you fight is a Norn character, as a Norn character is a giant worm at the start of the game as well. You help fight, so that's really cool. In the past, they lived in areas of extreme temperatures, both hot and cold, which makes sense. You got the really fiery ones in Catacombs of Cathandrax and in the Fissure of Woe in the Mist, and then the cold ones, as we're seeing here, in the freezing north. And also, yeah, they were in the Crystal Desert and the Desolation, the Ring of Fire, the Shiverpeak Mountains, and the depths of Tyria. So yeah, there you go. Some worms are even found in the Rift. Those who remember the Chaos worms there. You don't see that model of worm anywhere else in the game, I don't believe. Really interesting. Tomb of the Primeval Kings, if you remember that. They were cool worms as well. I quite like that. I think those are my favourite worms. Despite the fact they're not that interesting sort of in lore, they're still pretty cool. Anyway, it's currently unknown where they can be found now in 250 years, but one has been seen in a tropical-like area coming out of water. So yeah, there you go, that's just a little bit of... Oh, in Guild Wars 2, there's even apparently a Norn... Oh yeah, and the boss you fight, I think, is called Isormir. That's the first one that you do during the Great Hunt, during the Norn tutorial. But yeah, alright, so enough about worms. Let's read about the Norn. So, last week, or last video, whatever you want to describe it as, we read about... What have we actually read? We saw The Line of Duty, we've seen Norn Week Begins, or that was just a bit of an overview. Legend and Legacy, that was the one by David Wilson we heard last time. The next one was posted by Merton Kirstein, who is a community manager. I don't know whether he wrote it, probably not. But this is Go Big or Go Home. Oh no, he probably did. This is a very short blog post. This is the one where you see the giant... yeah, I'll throw this screenshot up. It's an image of Holbrack, and you see some tiny, tiny little Norn, and it really gives you an example of the scale of them. Hold on here. Let's keep clicking around. I just want to find a nice suitable... oh yeah, and here we go. Yeah, the other one, Norn Week Begins, has got the original image, where you can see in the background some tiny ass little Norn, and there's a Norn with this amazing rifle there. I'll throw that up on the screen as well. But yeah, so I'll read this one out. So this is by David Campbell. It's just a little bit of an overview of the Norn. They come from the land of the ice and snow. The Norn, a valiant race of shape-changing barbarians. The Norn are one of 5 playable races in Guild Wars 2. This week we're going to get within axe throwing distance of the Norn on the ArenaNet blog with posts full of lore, art, screenshots, audio clips, fiction and more. On February 24th we'll be updating the guildwars2.com Norn page with a brand new video featuring the Shiver Peak, the Norn hunting grounds. The Norn who first appeared in Eye of the North, blah blah blah. I don't know whether this is really particularly interesting. We know all this stuff. There's some quotes here from Jeff Grubb and Rhys Osby. For instance, Jeff says, the Norn are by their nature a race of optimists. While humans have a long history and it feels like their best days may be behind them, the Norn project a positive outlook, even though they've been driven from their homeland. Yeah, because they had a serious problem as well, obviously. Don't forget, they were coming close to becoming extinct, but the spirits of the wild led them south. So, many of the races of Guild Wars 2, says Rhys Osby, come from a background of displacement. However, where other races see their tribulations as losses, yeah, because don't forget, obviously the Asura were displaced. I don't know whether you can really say the Silvari were displaced since they've only just appeared, so I guess they're the odd one out there. But they're the odd ones out in so many different ways that it's not even funny. So while other races see their tribulations as losses, the Norn see it as a challenge, a chance to overcome adversity and reach greatness. That's pretty cool. The Norn are absolutely not big humans, she says. This is so important as well. It annoys me so much how often, and I kind of blame ArenaNet for it as well, they don't seem to have been that creative with the Norn as a race visually. And let's be honest, while we all watching this video probably care a lot more about how they work as a culture and are much more interested in that, 99% of people will pick their race at the start of the game depending on how they look, right? And they do look like big humans, let's be honest here, guys. And I remember there was this really weird point where they revealed a screenshot of some of the Norn, like one of the first things they did with Guild Wars 2, one of the first shots we saw of the new Norn. And their proportions were a bit off, like they were very slightly off, but they weren't off enough for people to recognise it as, oh, they're a different race, so this is why they look like this. They just very much looked like humans in the worst part of the uncanny valley. It just really looked like they were supposed to be humans in all dimensions except this one way, and ArenaNet had just got it wrong, and they looked a bit weird as a result. They don't look distinct enough, and I still stand by this. They are big, they look like big humans, but Rhys says, yes, they're not, in visual style they might be, but they have their own culture, their own ethics, and their own morality. A Norn seeks to master herself and drive her own body and soul to greatness through constantly testing her own physical limits. Off topic a little bit as well, you'll find a lot of these blog posts, and it's just me, it's just a personal thing with me. A lot of the blog posts, I don't know, it seems like it's mostly Rhys that does this, I don't know why, but she seems to, whenever she does a blog post, they never use just sort of the standard he to refer to a genderless body or something like that. They always use she. I don't know, maybe they're trying to break conventions or something. I notice it all the time, and it kind of grinds me the wrong way a little bit, but do get used to that. She'll probably always mention whatever it is as a she instead of a he, which is generally the accepted neutral term, and as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, so yeah. As you'll see this week when we take a closer look at the Wayfarer foothills, they say, a Norn player in Guild Wars 2 will have a completely different experience than a human player. The Norn starting experience is totally different from the human one. The happenings in Wayfarer Hills, while dangerous, are more about hunting and celebration rather than outright war. In addition to a plethora of wild game and powerful creatures, Norn characters adventuring the Shiver Peaks will encounter the Jotun, which is still around, yay, a race of fallen giants. Oh man, remember all this lore? If you guys watched all of My Other North, you remember me talking about this. The Jotun and how they've got like their huge citadels that are just abandoned now, and they seem to be a race that had fallen from grace at some point. Very, very interesting. There are all those ideas about how maybe they're related to the Norn somehow. And then you can combine that with the Kodan lore and be like, well, how does that all fit in? Very, very, very weird. But there are also the Dredge are around, the former slaves who claim the lost homelands of the dwarves. So yeah, I talked a while, was it last video I think? Well, I talked about how the Dredge have kind of swelled up into where the dwarves once were, and that's mostly in the south, but the Norn are also contesting the lands in the north. You do see a lot of Dredge around there actually. It's quite interesting. I love the idea of the Dredge rising up though, because basically they were oppressed by these dwarves, and then the dwarves just all got fucked up. I'd love it if they introduced like a plot that introduced in some subtle way, but he knowingly did it, some Dredge somewhere had brought about the extinction of the dwarves by, I don't know, some interesting plot about how maybe he facilitated the ritual of the Great Dwarf, knowing what it would be like. Maybe for instance, the Tome of Rubicon came into danger at some point, and there was some dredge out there who were like, no, we have to get this to the dwarves so that they'll destroy themselves. I'd love that idea, because it would, because at the moment it's like the dredge were just oppressed, and then through sheer luck they managed to take some lands and get some semblance of ownership over a place interior. But if you do it the other way, then at least they've got something to be proud of, and they don't just look completely weak and pathetic. But what else are around there? So you've got the Sons of Svanir as well, which you'll find in the Norn starting areas, who are the Norn who revere the Ice Dragon Jormag. Yeah, something to point out, I never pointed this out last time. We call him Jormag, okay? Jormag, the Elder Ice Dragon. The Norn don't do that. This is really, I love the way that ArenaNet set this up. The Norn don't call him Jormag, they just call him Dragon, because to them they don't care about the other elder dragons so much. Jormag is the one that has directly affected them. Jormag is the one that they want to fight. Jormag is the one that they've got the beef with, so they just call it Dragon. That's so cool. I love it. They just, whenever they talk about Jormag, I don't think I've ever heard a Norn say Jormag. They just say Dragon. When Dragon drove us from our homelands, and so on. This is so cool, because it's those kind of little details, those little subtleties in the way that the races talk and stuff, that really helps to make them be distinct. I love the little things like that. Like I talked about the seraph and the way that the humans pronounce it. And yeah, that has kind of its problems, and maybe I don't think that's extensive enough. But a lot of the time when I see little stuff like that, I'm like, yeah, they've really thought about how this race works, which is really cool. So there's no shortage of opportunities for Norn to prove themselves in the starting areas. So Ree ends the blog by saying, if you can thank the spirit of Griffin even as you kill one to feed your family, if you instinctively know the difference between a playful brawl and a deadly battle, and if you'd climb a dangerous mountain just because someone said it couldn't be done, then you might want to play a Norn. So there you go. That's like, it's not so much of a lore blog post, but there you go. That was like the introduction to Norn Week. Let's go back and see what else we've got. So there was Go Big or Go Home. We just read. What else have we got? Designing and redesigning events in Norn Week. That doesn't sound like it's particularly good for lore. Here we go. So basically what they do with the Norn Weeks, what they basically do with the race weeks is they'll have a specific setup of blogs or posts that go on over the week, and then it always ends on a big lore story. So this is what the end of the Norn Week story was. If you remember the human one I read out about Divinity's Reach, that was the end of Human Week, and so this one is the end of Norn Week, and this is the one that's got like the story there and all this awesome stuff. So this will probably be what most of Frostmaws is about, even though I've just talked for 16 minutes before really getting to it. So this is called, okay, A Spirit of Legend. This was written by Ree Sosby, okay? And we got access to this on the February 25th, 2011, right?